welcome to the September 4th meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge allegiance. Join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we come to you at this hour for your blessing and help as we are gathered together. We pray for your guidance in all matters at hand and ask that you show us how to conduct our work with the spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to help each other, to work together, and to encourage each other towards excellence. We ask that you would challenge each of us to reach higher and farther, and to be the best we can be in our work here tonight. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Please note for the record that Councilman Pipavani is absent. Councilman Aragosa.
Here.
Councilman Godlewski.
Here.
Councilwoman Wardowski.
Here.
Supervisor Ketzley.
Here. And again, all welcome tonight. We very rarely have such a busy room, so we're glad that you're all here with us tonight. We do have the agendas up front. You can see there's a variety of public hearings we will be calling. We do have an add-on resolution at the end, actually two add-on resolutions. One add-on resolution is to establish a negative declaration on the Dutch Meadow Residential Plan Development District. The second add-on resolution will be to adopt the local law establishing a PUD for the Dutch Meadows Residential Development. So those are the two we'll take up at the end of the meeting. With that, I will start with town council reports on my left with Councilman Godlewski.
Very briefly, Mr. Supervisor, I was gonna skip, but we have a full room, so I wanted to quickly announce or just remind everybody that upcoming on September 19th, 5:30 to 8 at Riverstone Manor is the Gin and Jazz fundraiser. This is to benefit our efforts to restore Yates Mansion on Maple Avenue. It's a fun event. We all attended last year. The cost is $50 per person, and with kind of the Gin and Jazz theme, there'll be a specialty cocktail that evening. So if you can make it, please come out, and that's all.
It pains me to correct you, but the committee has just canceled that event.
Oh.
Yes.
Today.
Sorry.
Nothing to report then.
That's called a setup. We're making something canceled. Councilwoman Wardowski.
Yes, just a couple things. I would like to publicly recognize Buchendall Fire Department, who will be celebrating their 75th anniversary serving our community this weekend with some festivities. They have been very active. They have a lot of really great members. If you don't know where they're located on Sacandaga Road at the bottom of Spring Road. They just completed a very large renovation of their station to bring it into compliance with the laws and rules of today, and also to make it so that it lasts them another 75 years. So congratulations to Buchendall Fire Department. And also just quickly to remind everybody that it is school season. School has started yesterday. Tomorrow Glenville starts. So please remember to, I'm sure that looking at the audience that every one of you stop for school buses that are stopped, but often others don't. So please remember to stop for school buses when the lights are flashing. Keep our kids safe. There's way too many near misses that happen right in our local community. So just want to make sure everybody remembers, and I wish everybody a happy school year. And I bet there's moms that are at Summerstone.
Thank you. Councilman Aragosa.
Just one thing, I've taken on the job of parking czar for the Oktoberfest this year, and I just want to invite anybody who's interested in helping with parking. Feel free to get a hold of me at my town email. Looking for volunteers for shifts during the day to help get people in and out of Malwood Park safely, and thank you. That'll be all for me.
Thank you. I normally reserve my comments until supervisor's comments to the board, but I don't have any formal comments tonight, especially with the busy night in front of us. I do want to just point out two things that are occurring in September, since we have a busy room. September 18th, in this room at 7 o'clock, during the town board meeting, will be our first budget hearing. If you're interested at all in the budget, and frankly you should be, I would encourage you to be here. And the second one is September 24th at 7 o'clock at the Senior Center. If you can't make this room on the 18th, we'll do it again on the 24th, and we'll discuss all the budget issues before us for 2020. And then lastly, I just want to point out that we do have, again, we're very lucky in the town of Glenville, the September 11th ceremony is being held again at the Waters Edge Lighthouse on September 11th at 5 o'clock, and all are welcome to join us. So please, if you can get to that, it's a beautiful tribute and a great ceremony if you can make it. So just want to point those out to you. With that, we will start with our public hearings. I'll open our first public hearing. And this public hearing is to hear all those interested in relation to the map and roll for Water District 11, Extension 1. No, I'm sorry, I skipped one. For all the people that came here for Dutch Meadows, I skipped it. So the first public hearing is to hear all those interested in the proposed zoning map amendment for the portion of Dutch Meadows Lane and the proposed local law creating a residential planned development district. That public hearing is now open. Anyone who wishes to be heard on that, actually we'll have Mr. Hablock first come up and give an overview for everybody. And then just raise your hand and I'll invite you up for comments.
Thanks, I'll be brief. Bill Hablock with Rich Bell Capital. With me, thank you Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. With me is Greg Fauché, our seeker and land use counsel, Brian Osterhout from our civil engineering firm on the environmental design partnership, as well as Ken Worsted from Creighton Manning Associates, who is our traffic engineer. So any questions can be directed to them, and we have every professional here to answer. We were last here in May where we introduced our revised application to modify our originally proposed mixed-use PDD to a residential PDD. We eliminated the commercial components of the PDD and retained the multifamily and townhouse components of the PDD. In May, we discussed the numerous submissions, the various board meetings, and public hearings that we had been through. Since at that time, we've been through the process for about a year and a half. At that point, the town board referred us to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as the GECC for their review and recommendation. We have also submitted a rather voluminous expanded environmental impact assessment, which consists of about 2,000 plus pages. These two documents, which have been in the town for a few months now, identifies and analyzes every potential environmental impact reasonably expected to occur as a result of the proposed PDD, and also evaluates whether such impacts are significant pursuant to seeker. That volume contains a detailed analysis of all potential environmental impacts, preliminary set of site plans, a full environmental assessment form, Part 1. We also did an environmental assessment form that tracks Part 2, a stormwater pollution plan, as well as a stormwater management narrative, a wetland avoidance plan, a floodplain vicinity mapping, full property survey, correspondence from various state and federal agencies, a full Phase 1 archaeological survey, a traffic study, as well as water and sewer service reports. So we've certainly submitted all possible documentation that we could under seeker to make sure that this board is fully informed when they make a decision on a negative declaration under seeker, and then potentially and hopefully adopt the PDD. Over the summer, the GECC did recommend that this proposed PDD receive a negative declaration under seeker since it will not have a significant environmental impact. The Planning and Zoning Commission over the summer made the same recommendation to this board, as well as the recommendation separately that this board should adopt the proposed revised residential PDD. That brings us to the public benefit. Let's discuss that because the public benefit has really evolved since we've been here over about a 19-month period. The original public benefit was focused on pedestrian connectivity, and it was providing a pedestrian path walkway along the south side of Dutch Meadows Lane to connect Route 50 with Freeman's Bridge Road. As the planned development district review process evolved over 18 months, that public benefit evolved more into a public donation of 6 acres on the corner of Dutch Meadows Lane and Route 50 for the town to do what it deems fit here. So while that happened, we also understand the importance of continuing to promote pedestrian connectivity within the town that has been, a plank in the platform, certainly of this board. And there is a way that we're able to now accomplish both public benefits, which is donate the land to the town, as well as promote pedestrian connectivity along Dutch Meadows Lane. Obviously, the donation of the town, donation of the land has been offered and will be made. So how do we do connectivity on top of that? It's very simple. We can complete the existing walk that is on Route 50. Right now, connectivity between Route 50 and Freeman's Bridge Road along Dutch Meadows Lane, it's halfway there. There's a sidewalk that goes all the way from Freeman's Bridge west to about the middle of 50. The sidewalk on the south side, heading east from the intersection of Route 50 and Dutch Meadows, is a little way in. So there is a way to connect that, and that's exactly what we are proposing here, which is to run the sidewalk from the south side of Dutch Meadows Lane on 50 east through along Dutch Meadows Lane, through our proposed multifamily community, and crosswalk up to the existing sidewalk on the north side of Dutch Meadows Lane. That way, connectivity is made, and that gets people who live on Freeman's Bridge Road to patronize the businesses on Freeman's Bridge Road, or Dutch Meadows Lane to Freeman's Bridge Road. Also gets the people who are in 50 in that area now can come along Dutch Meadows Lane, the path the whole way to get to Freeman's Bridge Road and be feeders for those businesses. It accomplishes, that specific path accomplishes a few things. As said, it connects Route 50 to Freeman's Bridge with pedestrian travel. It also does not have any wetland impacts because, as we discussed ad nauseum for a year and a half, there are wetlands on both the north and the south side. But the path that I outlined in the map that has been submitted to the town that you all have seen avoids those wetlands. And also, by having the walkway actually go through the multifamily community, it gets the people, or gets the path where the people are. That's where the highest concentration of people on Dutch Meadows Lane will be, in the multifamily community, and the path is right there. So you're walking out of your home and you walk right to Freeman's Bridge Road and start to support those businesses. So really, in sum, after a nice evolving and trying to get to what is the public benefit that would benefit the town and the town people the most, it is twofold, which started as one, to foster pedestrian connectivity, but now it's not just that, it's also the donation of the land to the town. So, in conclusion, as I've demonstrated, we've demonstrated in the volumes and volumes of environmental reports and analyses and studies that we have submitted. The proposed revised PDD either avoids or mitigates all potential environmental impacts. Also, as shown in those documents, the PDD will comply with all regulations, so there are no significant adverse environmental impacts associated with the PDD, as also agreed with by the GDCC and the PZC during their review and recommendation to you. Again, discussed at length is how the revised PDD continues to promote the goals and objectives, not just in the town code, but in the recently updated comprehensive plan. The PDD also continues to facilitate an appropriate plan, as we talked about, an awkward piece of property that's long and narrow and bounded by a rail line. And also, as we discussed, the multifamily PDD promotes a good land use as you go from the business district on Freeman's Bridge Road, you go through multifamily up into the single family west of Route 50. So it's a natural progression and a good land use. And certainly, as discussed, this revised PDD preserves the most important component of the original PDD, which is getting people to live near Freeman's Bridge Road so they can support the businesses as the town center is built out and is really thriving and looking great, and the town now moves down to Freeman's Bridge Road to now start that resurgence. This residential PDD will only assist in that. So with that said, I'll turn it over to either the board for questions or any comments from the public who came to speak about this residential PDD. Thank you.
Bill, just real quick, just for the public's education, just talk about your phasing of the apartments and townhomes.
Yep, so the multifamily is envisioned in two phases, two equal phases of 3 buildings apiece for a total of 104 residences. The clubhouse, the pool, all the amenities come with phase 1. The townhomes, which is a for sale product right next to it, that will be market driven. but we anticipate the first phase of the townhomes to be started in connection with the first phase of the multifamily community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's best, if there's questions from the podium, we'll have you answer them.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on the public hearing for the Dutch Meadows? I see a hand back there. I didn't see, yes, waving, yes, yes. The only thing we ask for all folks in the public hearing, state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Stephanie Bitter with Bartlett, Pond, Stewart and Rhodes. I've submitted a couple letters relative to the review of this project. My client is Jack Robinson. He owns Scotia Storage Facility. Initially, when this project was reviewed, I believe back in 2018, I had submitted a letter inquiring about access on the Dutch Meadow over the strip. Understanding that this project has evolved, I have spoken to Mr. Hoblock about trying to resolve that between and amongst ourselves. My question for this board is not seeing what the local law actually says, with it now being a residential PDD. If my client was to acquire that property, would there be the ability for him to develop it in a commercial manner, since it's now a residential PDD? And could he be allowed to have the curb cut that he has been seeking relative to the submission that I've been providing throughout this process?
Ma'am, I'll answer what the local law doesn't address Mr. Robinson's interests, unfortunately. I can't speak for the board, obviously, in the future when Mr. Robinson makes an application, but I think common sense would dictate that we want to see the best outcome for the landowners and for the town there. Best income probably is not to keep a residential strip in front of a commercial property. I can't speak also as to the curb cut at this point because our highway superintendent isn't here to answer that question.
Right.
But I think I can signal to you that we're interested in helping landowners and folks have the best outcome possible. The strip doesn't make sense if it's residential
Right.
in front of commercial.
Okay.
And
But that is being rezoned as well, that strip?
That strip is it's part of the property. It's currently in. Yes,
Okay.
it
So-
would be because it's currently that property.
So if he was to pursue it, he'd have to also seek a rezoning of that?
Yes.
For an extension?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Any other letter?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, really appreciate it. My name is Larry Zeglin, I live on 7 Burgess Road in Glenville. I'm wearing two hats tonight. One, I'm the commander of the VFW Post 4616 Glenville, honored to do that, and also honored to be a member of the Legacy Committee. I'd like to introduce very quickly the Legacy Committee to you folks, if I could. Would you stand, please? We have Lori Murphy on the end, Mary Grant, Ginny Barr, Joyce Madelon, Gary Packer, and of course Larry Zeglin. I'm sorry, I beg your, I said, Kurt Simone. You should be sitting in front. Anyway, that's the committee. Amazing bunch of people, very talented and committed to our project. This whole effort began back in 2016 when Jenny and her husband called me about building this amazing Veterans Cafe that they had visited in Mooresville, North Carolina, on the way back from a trip in Florida. From that point on, we started looking for a place to build this facility. Unsuccessfully for a year or so, an amazing thing happened. In 2017, Joyce Madelon called up and said, Larry, I want to talk to you and Gary about building a Veterans Memorial in Glenville. I said, of course we can do that. That started another whole process going. We talked about that. Jump ahead 2.5 years later, here we are. We realized that the memorial is a wonderful thing, but marrying the Veterans Cafe into the memorial is a very, very smart idea. And it works out incredibly well. This comes to fruition, it will be the only area of its type in the country. There are memorials everywhere, but none of them have a Veterans Cafe that will honor all veterans of all stripes, whether you served overseas or not, and will honor those that gave their lives for our country. Glenville was chosen for a lot of reasons. We have an amazing town supervisor who's kind of shepherded us through this last 2 or 3 years, helping us in any ways you can't imagine. We also have an area of 80,000 veterans and their families in an 11-county area. And also that translates to 350,000 family members as well. So the population is incredible in this area. We are the epicenter of that veteran population. We're going to build this amazing facility. It'll have a 10,000 square foot Veterans Cafe, which will have a museum, a resource room, a Veterans Service Office, a gift shop, and a welcome center, along with the cafe, obviously. There'll be an amphitheater that'll be part of it. All of these facilities will be available to all the veterans, their families, and the public as well. So it's going to be an amazing place. The other side of that will be the memorials themselves. They'll honor all of the conflicts, 7 or 8 conflicts, large ones that we've had, and the monuments will have the names of those that gave their lives for our nation's cause. A family will be able to come and actually touch the name of their loved one and hopefully rekindle that spirit in those folks. I went to Washington myself to the Vietnam Memorial, and I had that experience. It's an incredible thing, and we want to create that experience for the folks in this area as well. We been going at this now for 3 years. It's hard to believe, but we're at a point. The fact that we're even here tonight is incredible, okay? It's a milestone in our effort. We have done all what we can. We think at this point we need to go further. We need to go for grants and assistance. We need to do that only if we have a place to put a show, okay? We need a place to do that. The last 2 or 3 years, it's been kind of bouncing around a bit. Things have happened, circumstances have developed, but we're at this point now, and here's an opportunity for us to have that, okay? Once we have that, we'll be able to go out and secure the funding that we believe we can secure. So this is an opportunity that you folks have, okay? You can help us do that. You can be part of this journey. It's going to be an amazing place, we promise. We have amazing, capable people as I've introduced to you. Their skills are incredible. They're committed to this project. So I hope you'll consider our efforts and what we've done, and look forward to working with you folks in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. As you can see, Larry is very passionate and enthusiastic, and it's very contagious. And we have a great group of people. It's hard to believe 2 years ago now we sat in your living room all together, and you told me about this vision, and you said to me, Chris, all you need to do is find us a space now. I said, all right, no problem.
Remember that.
Here we are. Anyone else wish to be heard? Kurt.
Kurt Simone, 181 Collins Road, Glenville. I'm also Vice Commander of VFW Post and Vice Commander of American Legion, Vernon Hills Post, and a member of the Southern Veterans Association. I'm also a school teacher. Yes, it started. Larry spoke very eloquently about the Legacy Project. A lot of this hinges on the zoning change. I am in favor of this zoning change because I've taken a look at the project. I've looked at a project that appears well engineered, well planned, a project that takes environmental into consideration. It's a project that has good traffic control either side of those meadows. It's a project that's going to bring together Freeman's Bridge Road and Route 50. It's a project that's going to add to the housing diversity in the area of all ages and all incomes. It supports the future hopes of Freeman's Bridge Road development, and it will make Glenville a destination location when dovetailed to this Legacy project. If this moves forward and the town accepts the gift of 6 acres of land and the town embraces our project, it'll only enhance the future development and interest in Freeman's Bridge Road and Route 50 area and Glenville itself. So yes, I'm in favor of this subject.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter?
It's easier for me to lower. Hi, my name is Mary Grant. I live on 5 Elmore Lane in Vernon Hills, New York. I am also a veteran, 27.5 years. The first 21 years was aeromedical evacuation, which means bringing wounded warriors home. The end of my career was running the medical group over at Stratton. While I was running simultaneously 2 jobs for 27.5 years, my civilian job asked me to participate in putting in a homeless female veteran shelter up in Boston Spa. And I was thrilled to do that. That was something that there was about a dozen of us. We went out and raised funds. We purchased a home. We we were able to bring 10 female veteran shelter, homeless female veterans off the streets into a warm environment. We had numerous fundraisers for them. Then fast forward, I was ready to retire in 2016 from my second job. I retired from the military in 2014. And lo and behold, I ran into Larry. He invited me to the VFW meeting in Glenville. Second meeting, he says, boy, do I have something for you. And he proceeds to hand me a business plan about the Legacy Project, also known as the Capital Region Veterans Memorial. And he said, would you take this and just kind of read it and see if it's something that you think you'd be interested in? Well, I think it took me about 2 days to decide that now I really figured out what I was going to do now that I was totally retired, which at that point, I was driving my husband nuts. So I said, sure, it is something that it was near and dear to my heart. Like I said, with all the deployments, everybody returns home in different stages, and the ability to deal with things, some better, some maybe not so much. But our goal here is to help everyone to be able to come into the Veterans Cafe, share a cup of coffee. I was able to experience that. They talked about Richard's Coffee House in North Carolina. I was personally able to experience that over the past 2 years. We go down there for the racing, and I visited that cafe. I sat there, had a cup of coffee, and the people just kept coming in, and I said, do you guys have any problem manning? Because they have the cafe, and they said, no ma'am, it's been the five people that manned this cafe volunteering since they moved from the first location into this new building. And it was just a very warm feeling to sit there and really listen to some stories and share the laughter, which sometimes you don't really see. And that's what we're hoping to bring into Glenville is to, we're on the bus line, so people that may not have cars, veterans or their families, they're going to be able to hop on the bus and get off the bus right there by Baptist and walk across the street, hopefully into our cafe and be able to participate. And hopefully, we call it Heal the Invisible Wounds of War, which sometimes is not always that easy for people to do. Mary talked a little bit about the monuments out back. I was asked to go and speak at one of the elementary schools for Veterans Day 2 years ago, and I went there and it was 5th graders, and I said, you know, can you tell me the difference between World War I and Korea? And the little boy goes, no ma'am, I can't, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, that's okay. I said, I wasn't here to, I said, my name, I told him who I was, and I told him what we were trying to do in Glenville. And I said, our dream is to be able to have field trips where people can come in. These monuments that we talk about representing the major conflicts between World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, ending up with Afghanistan, and it will be a way to capture what we call the non-major conflicts, because we don't want to leave anybody out. We're going to have a very big educational piece. We're hoping that we can get field trips in there and really teach the children, why do people give up part of their lives, leaving part of their families to go overseas or wherever they ended up, and even stateside. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you deploy local or down, what we call downrange. We are all in this together, and our goal was to treat our soldiers and to bring the team that was there doing what they needed to do for the mission home safely. So I speak from my heart. Like I said, 27 years, I loved it. If I could go and kind of like take those years back and come back through, I would do it with heartbeat. So I'm really glad that you were willing to listen to us and to be there walking us through this over the couple of years, and we really look forward to making this reality. So thank you all for your time tonight.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Joyce?
Joyce Manalone, 9 Judy Drive, Glenville. Most of what I wanted to say has already been said. But just to let you know, when I first saw this project, it was very, very tiny out in Utah, which has only been a state for 100 years. And while they were able to put something together, I said, we've got to get back here. We have to educate our students. They really need to know about all of this. And the best thing we can do is by having a museum and having field trips and getting them to know where we've been so we don't make the same mistakes again. We've been very blessed to have a great committee. They just love helping, and it's been absolutely wonderful, and Chris has really helped it down and determined we're going to find a place. So I thank you for all of that, and I thank everyone who's here to support our project.
Thank you.
Geneva are one Tryon Avenue, Scotia. I'm the cheerleader of the group. When my husband and I, Jerry, first went down to Mooresville, South Carolina, we walked in and we were greeted in the middle of a ceremony for one of the helpers down there who had died. But we were greeted like we were longtime friends. We sat down, we listened to what they had to say, we went through the memorial service, and my husband turned to me, and he was in the Army for 6 years. He was in Vietnam. And he said, "Baby, this is what I want for Glenville." And I said, "How are we going to do that?" And we came back, and he spoke with Larry, and they spoke with Chris, and my husband was working very hard at it, but he had an accident, and a lot of you know he didn't make it. And so I'm doing this in his honor, but I want to say this. I am not a vet, but I am a patriot. And I cannot think like a vet. My husband he was in a wheelchair for a while, and he became an advocate for veterans. And when a veteran came in and spoke to him, they could speak to him, and he would listen, and they would listen to him. And I was not on that plane. And we want to give the veterans of our 11 counties a safe haven where when they come into this place, they know that they can sit down and talk to a friend on a level that they understand. I urge you to support this project. I have not, in my couple of years working in this, run into anyone who had an adverse thought about it. It was nothing but, and I've got 3 teachers lined up who want to bring their classes in the New York State environment, education environment. I've been down there to speak, and they said, "Please let us know when you're getting off the ground. We'll give you all the support you can want." So please, and any veterans, you can probably speak more eloquently than I can about this, so I encourage you to.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Yes, we have that there.
Hi, Lisa Gregory, Saratoga Drive, Glenville. I am a Blue Star mother. I'm sure 98% of you know who Blue Star moms are. Don't, our children are currently serving. But I'm here as much for our sisters, our Gold Star mothers and families. What a wonderful thing to have locally for them. We have to fundraise so much to bring them to Washington, D.C., and some of them are too old to even make the trip. So to have something local would just be incredible. And I have to say, the way we found out about this was so simple. Joyce had put something in the church bulletin. I contacted Mary. Mary spoke to us. And from here, we're 100% behind this as well. We will do everything we can to help fund it as well. But I can't speak enough that there are so many children here, my children, 2 of them, everyone's children who are serving, and all our veterans here. This would just be such a prideful thing, and it would really, to me, put Glenville even more so on the map. You know, I'm very proud to be living here. I moved back here for a reason, but as a Blue Star mom, I think our organization just screams, please do this, you know. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good to see you.
I'm Laura Murphy. I live in Lawyersville, New York, which is just a couple miles out of Covisville. And I'm very jealous that we're talking about putting this in your community and not mine. But anyway, when I was in the military, I was a flight nurse in the New York Air National Guard. And in every flight we talked about souls on board, which is how many people are on board. Since I've become part of this project, I thought a lot about souls on board. But in this respect, the souls that are in heaven, that are hopefully on board, that this project is really all about all my colleagues have talked about what this is going to do for the future. But it is also so important that we pay tribute to all those men and women who did give their lives. It's so important that we have the opportunity to show them that their lives were important, that their lives mattered, and that their deaths had meaning. And so I always think about those souls that are on board, and hope and pray that we can show them through this project that we're going to do this for them. And I'll be forever indebted to you, Chris, for all that you've done for us. But thank you so much for the opportunity.
Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name's Robert Fody. I've lived in Glenville since 1956. I grew up here. I'm a member of VFW 4660, the TREA, the Retired Enlisted Association, American Legion. And I'm also a Vietnam veteran. And I served in Vietnam from September 1968 to June 1970. I did 21 consecutive months in country with airborne infantry and ranger units. And I think that the operative word for this project is legacy. And Scotia has a considerable legacy of those that have served in the military, particularly those that I graduated in high school with. I graduated in 1967, and there was a considerable amount of my buds from the classes of 64 to 69 to 70 that enlisted and served and subsequently were posted in Vietnam. Many of them came back, and it's a well-known fact that Vietnam veterans upon their return were dismally greeted, disrespected. I ran across this at the Albany Airport coming back twice. I can say I didn't put up with it, but there were those who came back that were completely intimidated and cowed by the reception that they received. And I can also say that many of the men I served with from Scotia, a good amount of them are no longer with us. Vietnam veterans die now at the rate of World War II veterans that are 20 and 25 years older. Okay, most of that is from Agent Orange exposure, but a lot of it is due to they gave up. Okay, they were so dismally treated and disrespected that they self-medicated drugs, alcohol, and passed on far, far too early than they should have. Okay? So anything now that can assist a veteran of any age to come to grips with their service would be a great help. Now, I came to grips with my Vietnam service many, many years ago, very soon after I came back. It did not affect me very much in any way. I've been a contractor for the United States State Department and in harm's way in other areas. So my Vietnam service was not a factor. But for those coming back now, okay, particularly those that have served since 9/11, which was that generation's version of Pearl Harbor, okay? Since 9/11, only about 1% of the entire population of the United States has served in the U.S. military. 1% out of 300 million plus. That is 3 million. 1% of our fellow countrymen are doing all the heavy lifting in the global war on terror for everybody else in this room. Okay? The global war on terror is very much a special operations war. And the vast majority of the combat operations are done by special operations units like Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Delta Special Forces, Marine Force Reconnaissance, Marine Raiders, Air Force Combat Controllers. Okay? The pace of operations for these units is phenomenal. And mental and physical stressors on these men and women is also phenomenal. Far too many of them are committing suicide upon their return for reasons that the military still does not know why. Even though they're all volunteers, they're continuing to take their lives for various reasons. So anything, and again, I'll put your word on this, is legacy. Anything that can provide some sort of safe haven, somebody to talk to, a place to go to have a beer, unwind, talk to a fellow veteran who has been exposed or done the same thing you have, is a very worthwhile endeavor. And I thank the town for even considering this, and I thank everybody here for showing up and considering it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Going once. Up here.
Gary Thacker, 5 Jennifer Road, Glenville. Thank you for letting us speak about this project. Thank Joyce and the whole committee. Joyce called me, was it 2.5 years ago? Okay, 2.5 years ago. I was part of the Veteran Miracle Center out of Albany, who helped over 10,000 people, veterans, since 2014. And she said, Gary, you know, you're associated with all these veterans, you know, a lot of veteran organizations. I think it'd be a good project for you. So I said, I looked into it, and I said, wow, this sounds like a great project. There's nothing like it in the Capital District or throughout the country. And I said, hey, I think it'd be a great project. And we've been working on it for 2.5 years, and we weren't sure if it would happen. We weren't sure if it would come together. We hope it does, but it's been a long haul going. We thought maybe it'd be on Flag Road. We thought maybe, you know, we had several different locations. But thank you, Supervisor Ketzley, for helping us in pushing this through. And that's a great help. And everyone here is working so hard to do fundraising. We didn't even know where it's going to be. Hopefully this will be at this project, but for 2.5 years we've been working on all types of projects, fundraising for a golf tournament, and we had a lot of different chicken roasts and a lot of things that we're doing to do this, and not knowing where it is. So we just have that vision, and we really hope it's going to be at this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Going once, going twice. Before I close the public hearing, I just want the record to show that I, on behalf of the board, thank all veterans in this room for their service to our nation. You're an impressive group of people. You really, really are. You inspire me. I think you inspire the board members. Thank you for your service. Give them a round of applause, please. Seeing no others, we close that public hearing. The next public hearing we will take up is the public hearing to hear anyone interested in the matter regarding the map and roll for Water District 11 Extension 1 to be established on a vacant land on Lowick Lane, a vacant lot. The public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? This is for the water extension on Lowick Lane vacant lot. Going once, going twice. See it none. Closed. Next public hearing, the public hearing is for all those interested in a proposed local law to add a new chapter graffiti to the code for the town of Glenville. And I'll open that public hearing. Anyone wish to be heard on this matter? This is the public hearing. This is the local law that would add graffiti to the code to the town of Glenville, and very, categorizing it as a nuisance and would allow the town to clean it up. Anyone want to be heard on that matter? Going once, going twice. Yes, sir. Sorry, I almost missed you.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but my name is Ed Culhane. I live at Sutherland Drive in Glenville. And I've seen graffiti on the trains, everywhere they go. These taggers, that's what they call folks who put this stuff on bridges. I don't know what you're going to put in the local law, Mr. Supervisor, but maybe it should require the folks that build these bridges to paint them with graffiti-proof paint, because you can spray it right off with the pressure. Maybe include in there a system where people are rewarded when they see a tagger hanging off the bridge. Pick up the phone, they call 911. If an apprehension is made, they get $100 or whatever. They don't even have to go to court, because the police will see them there and grab them, and that's it. I mean, I don't know how these guys can do this and nobody see them. I mean, they have to be hanging on like a monkey with one arm, with a can of spray paint in the other, or hanging upside down. I mean, some of these things are very intricate, they're multicolored, they're not done in 5 minutes. So if we could encourage, maybe through this law, the public to be alert, you see one of these clowns up there, make a phone call, let the police come and pick them up. That's, you can't get off of the bridge in a hurry. Maybe if we're lucky, they get off in front of a train, and that'll be the end of the problem. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Going once, going twice, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Next public hearing is a public hearing in relation to those who would like to be heard on a new law, section 270-24.1, storage overlay districts, to chapter 270 zoning of the code for the town of Glenville. This is the storage overlay district. I'll just give you a quick summary of it, so if you speak on it, you're aware of exactly what's being proposed. This would allow property owners within the general business and the highway commercial zoning districts. We'll have two additional uses, automobile storage and self-storage units. The proposed storage overlay district creates a floating district. So it's a new district over the top of the existing district that would require town board approval of the zoning and the map amendments, as well as the planning and zoning commissions for site plan approval. The two-step process ensures public participation, as well as a thorough review of any of the potential impacts of any potential projects. The proposed zoning amendment requires the town board to deliberate the project through a four-pronged test, and it goes, the local law goes into that. It will not negatively affect the neighborhood, it will benefit the neighborhood in fact, and the proposal is compatible with the properties immediately adjacent to it. The third is the proposal is in conformance with the intent of both Glenville's comprehensive plan and the zoning code. And the fourth is the proposal does not negatively impact the community's aesthetics. So this again will allow for an overlay district in those districts that would allow for storage of automobiles associated with automobile dealerships, automobile rental operations, automobile tow operations, and will provide for self-storage uses within the general business and highway commercial districts as an overlay. So hopefully that gives you a good enough overview. I've opened the public hearing. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? Anyone wish to be heard on that matter at all? Going once, going twice. I see two hands.
Hi.
There you go.
My name is Ali, 437 Cedar Road. So I'm wondering, this amendment you're doing, when it's affecting my business, how it's going to affect, because you already have an application coming in. So I wonder where is that?
So what's your business?
The 437, this gas station down the road.
The gas station?
S&B.
Oh, so
Yes.
there's no application because of town.
It say on the letter you sent in.
Correct. It's standard language. It says there's an application being considered near your business.
Yeah, but
That
it's not.
was unfortunate language. There isn't an application.
Okay.
And you're not in general business up there.
I am. I think I am.
That far, I think we go general business past price chopper, but I can check it.
Okay.
But there is no application before the town.
All right, that's all my concern. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wish to be heard on that matter? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Fred Marcello. I've lived at 7 Charlton Road for 42 years. And in the past, some people have been very good about things that want to be changed in the neighborhood, except when it comes to zoning. And I have a problem with that because we went through this like 15 or 20 years ago. They wanted to change the zoning on my property, my neighbors, and a lot, and they never sent us a letter or anything. Like Woods just had a new warehouse built, we got letters and everything. Didn't have a problem with that, but you're proposing things like this, and myself and our neighbors never received any notice. That's not right. Everybody should know what's going on in the town. Like I said, I've lived here for 42 years, I really don't have a problem, but this is like the second or third time when it comes to zoning changes, you don't send out letters.
Can I ask you to clarify your name and address, because she didn't hear it?
Frederick J. Marcelli Jr., 7 Charlton Road, Glenville, right next to you.
So the letter wasn't sent to you because that is not a general business district that you're in. So it only affects general business and highway commercial, that's where the letters were sent. You're in a residential district on Charlton Road.
Community business.
Community business potentially.
But years ago, when they wanted to change it to general business, they didn't even notify us. My neighbors here too, other people, they didn't even notify us.
I don't know about years ago, but I know today, this does not affect your zoning, so that's why you're not going to let it.
All right. Now, so anything like now, we don't need any more car dealerships around. So if this goes through, they could store automobiles there?
Potentially, yes.
And how does that affect the environment with gasoline, oil, and everything else?
Well, we're not in a question and answer period here. You're supposed to just give us your comments, but
Okay.
that would be part of the site plan review. There's a seeker application, and that whatever application will come in will go through the seeker application, which is the environmental impact.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Yes.
I live at 6946 Amsterdam Road in the town of Glenville. I received a letter stating that there is something that's in the vicinity of my home, but I can't find anything. So is it close to my home? Is it the vacant property that's...
Yeah, so unfortunately, the language that was used for the public hearing was standard language, and it's usually when an application has come in. So it said something like an application has been made. There's been no application made. This is a town looking at, the Codes Review Committee is looking at changing, allowing for these uses by using this overlay district. So there is no application.
Okay.
This would affect you because you're probably on that part of Amsterdam Road in the highway commercial, potentially,
Yes.
or at least within 500 feet of it.
In the 75-mile-an-hour
Yes.
lane?
Yes, so it's the highway commercial folks that would be impacted on this overlay. So we can't speak to any application. This is just trying, and I should have maybe talked about this. We passed a comprehensive plan a few years ago. This code committee is now trying to marry the comprehensive plan and the code to the town of Glenville. This is the first foray in that. So that's what we're trying to do here, but there's no application by your house currently.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Going once, going twice, seeing none, and not closed. Next public hearing, last one of the evening, is to hear all those interested in the matter regarding local law to establish a Freeman Bridge Road overlay district. Again, I'll just give a brief summary of the local law. This is a overlay district, much like I just talked about, and it's designed to improve access and aesthetics of Glenville's southern commercial corridor. This talked about a little bit here tonight about the Dutch Meadow project about trying to do a revitalization on Freeman's Bridge Road. The district zoning code updates the required planning study of Freeman's Bridge Road complete streets concept plan and advocates attentions to architectural detail, building scale, landscaping, connectivity for pedestrians, and access to the riverfront and the town center. So this would allow us to create an overlay district on Freeman's Bridge Road. It doesn't change the current zoning that is on Freeman's Bridge Road now. Again, it allows for the overlay. You still would be in general business or RTD or whatever it is that you're currently in now. So I'll open that public hearing. Anyone wish to be heard on this matter? This is for the Freeman's Ridge Road Overlay District. Going once, going twice, seeing none, that hearing is now closed. So we'll move to privilege of the floor. This is when you have an opportunity to speak at the floor. A lot of folks took that opportunity already, I think, in the public hearings, but I'll go through quick. I see Robert Cody. Are you already set? You already spoke? Okay. Greg Waddle? Is Greg? Or George, I'm sorry. George, you still here? Oh, there you are, sir.
My name is George Woodgate. I live at 116 Governor Drive. First of all, I appreciate you, like I said, this tongue-in-cheek paving our neighborhood 3 years later than what we were told, but that's okay. I wonder if you realize the safety issues you're creating with the way the road is being paved. We're all going to have puddles at the end of our driveways that are going to turn to ice real quick. And I wonder who's going to pay for all these doctor bills. And who's going to help eliminate the deterioration of our driveways. All this water is just going to tear them all up. The road in front of it, our driveway is going to be torn up. And it seems like somebody didn't think about this. If you just can't keep adding pavement on top of pavement, and you got this nice little half moon on the road that creates all these puddles. They're there now, and it's only going to get worse. So at some point in time, I'd like to know what the town is going to do about it. Thank you very much.
So I'll pass your comments on to our highway superintendent, and perhaps it'd be okay for him to reach out to you.
Well, I said tongue-in-cheek 3 years ago. I asked this. It took about 8 months for that answer to come back. So maybe we could do it a little bit sooner.
He did give you an answer, or?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, he did give you an answer, or?
Yeah, about 8 months down the road.
Okay.
And that was after repetitive calls.
All right. Not on this matter.
Excuse me?
Not on this matter.
Not on this matter. It was just about the general paving at that point.
Okay. I will.
So maybe we could be a little bit more responsive.
I will mention it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have Sandy Donahue here. You spoke already? Okay. All right. Fred spoke, right? Fred Marcella? Yeah, Fred, you still here? Ahmad spoke, I know he left, he just left. Lori Murphy, you spoke. That's all I have signed up. Anyone else wish to speak at privilege of the floor on any issue before the town? Going once, just raise your hand if you do. Going twice. Seeing none, now closed. As I say, Supervisor, this is my gift to you. The supervisor's comments are none tonight, so we'll save some time there. Next is resolution. Resolution approving the abandonment of portions of E Street in the Glenville Business and Technology Park and authorizing the transfer to SQP Inc. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with a proposed transfer of abandonment and transfer of town's right to title interest in a certain parcel of piece of land known as E Street between Potential Parkway and the railroad tracks. The same piece or parcel of land was acquired by the town by quitclaim deed from the IDA in June of 1986 for the sum of $1. It has been a road through the Scotia Glenville Industrial Park. It's less than 1,000 feet in length. It's not a connector road between two public highways, and SQP is the landowner on both sides of said roadway. They have requested that the town superintendent abandon the same by a petition that was filed with the town clerk's office. The town of Glenville Highway Superintendent has determined that the said road or highway is unnecessary for highway purposes and has directed by an order filed with the town clerk's office that the highway be discontinued and abandoned for public purposes. The transfer to the entity known as SQP is designed to promote economic development in Schenectady County, and the said piece or parcel of land known as E Street will be used for such purpose to the benefit of the county and the town. By conveying this piece of land to SQP, the town will avoid the future cost and liability for maintenance, repair, and the removal of snow and ice on this road. We did hold a public hearing on August 21st in connection with this matter, where all members of the public wishing to be heard were given the opportunity to speak. So this this resolution, should it pass, would find that the piece or parcel of land known as East Street between the potential parkway and the railroad tracks is an interior roadway within the Scotia Glenville Industrial Park, is not necessary for public purposes as found by the highway superintendent. The abandonment and conveyance of said East Street will save the town considerable expense for maintenance, repair, and removal of snow and ice, such that its abandonment is appropriate and its reconveyance to the SQP for consideration consisting of the replacement of certain water and sewer lines in East Street is just and proper. So, this resolution would also, if it passed, discontinue and abandon from public use the town highway known as East Street, authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute and deliver to the SQP a plan B for that piece of parcel of land described herein known as East Street, together with other such documents necessary to effectuate such transfer, with the cost of preparation and filing to be borne by SQP.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please vote no.
Councilman Aragosa.
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Worzbowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, approving the amendment to the map and roll for Water District 11 Extension 1 to establish and include real property described by the section block and lot number 14-4-23, which is that vacant lot we talked about earlier on Village Lane. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Or a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, as you stated, this resolution is in connection with the extension number 1 to Water District number 11 to a vacant land on Village Lane.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Councilman Aragosa.
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Worzbowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 14, scheduling a public hearing on September 18th regarding a proposed to local law to amend chapter 270 zoning of the code regarding the Fringe Variable District. Do I have a motion? Or a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is somewhat dovetailed off from this evening. This calls for a public hearing on our next scheduled town board meeting on September 18th at 7 p.m. To consideration of a local law adding new definitions to our zoning code, specifically for Freeman's Bridgeport overlay district, and also a section for design guidelines and standards.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Aragosa.
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Worzbowski.
Yes.
And Supervisor Ketzley.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 15, reappointing William Patel to assessor effective October 2019 for a 6-year term through September 30th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Or a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. I do want to say that I'm proud to bring this resolution forward. I've worked with Bill for 6 years now, just about, right? And it's been a pleasure, and I've had the opportunity to work with the town prior to Bill and after Bill, and he's done a wonderful job at bringing our assessment office forward with his implementation of technology, and the list just goes on and on. Bill has performed his duties as assessor in a very efficient and capable manner on behalf of the residents of Glenville. I do believe I'm over-assessed, but that's okay. He tells me I'm not. I believe I am. He does have expertise in this area. He's evidenced by his current role as president of the Albany-Schenectady County Assessors Association, his scheduled upcoming role as a member of the New York State Assessors Association Executive Board, which commences this autumn. Bill is meets all the qualification standards for the appointment of sole assessor as prescribed in the real property tax law. It's my pleasure to put forward his name for reappointment through September 30th, 2025. Any questions or comments?
Just briefly, it's been a pleasure working with you, Bill. Being an assessor is not an easy job. Nobody likes taxes, but Bill does the job well. He's responsive to residents, responsive to board members, and look forward to continuing to work with him.
Any other questions or comments?
Bill, thank you for your service to the town. I think that the assessor's office, since you've been there, as the supervisor stated, has really evolved into something that's very efficient, helps the residents. I know that with recent star changes, your office has been going crazy, and I'm sure that the residents have been receiving a comprehensive and understandable explanation, because that's how I have found you to be when I've asked you questions about different matters within the town. So thank you for all you've done for the residents. We very much appreciate it.
Starting to research the town's history back in 200 years old now. Back in that day, they used to tar and feather the assessor. So maybe we'll do a reenactment. This year comes. That's it, the next fundraiser. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please close the roll.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Congratulations, Bill. Thank you. Resolution 16, listing reporting and clerical errors for Glenville Water District 11 to correct the roll. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any questions or comments? As I said, this is to correct the roll for Water District 11. You can see through there all the adjustments with the names. Most of them are clerical errors or other type of errors that occurred during the water billing. If you have any specific questions, I know our comptroller's here, you can answer them, but again, it's just mostly clerical type of errors that occurred in the bill.
I will note that this list is very, very much shorter than when it was previously before we went to the automated water meter reading. So that kind of just shows that that efficiency is already starting to take hold. So that's very good.
Yes. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the roll.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution, our add-on resolution number 1, which is to take up the question on the seeker negative declaration. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. I should note it's the seeker negative declaration for the Dutch Meadows Lane Residential Plan Development District that we had a public hearing on this evening. This resolution is very long, but it does go through the seeker and does recommend in the end a negative declaration on this project. Somewhere here. Any questions or comments on that?
I'd just like to thank the Planning Zoning Commission and Mike Burns and their staff and Glenville Environmental Conservation for their work on all this. It's been a long process. They've been through it twice now. They've done a good job of that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I would also like to thank Bridgeville Capital for their very comprehensive review. I did actually read it. I found most interesting the detailed excavation of a pile of dirt and how it was very meticulously examined for any sort of artifact. So thank you very much for being so thorough.
Thank you.
Do you want me to, do I have to read this, the paragraph, or I should say, impacts? It's a 13-page resolution, and our attorney would like me to read it to you. But I'm gonna give you at least some of the highlights. I'm not gonna read 13 pages to you. So the town board, through its review process, has considered all potential environmental impacts associated with this project and the secret regulations concerning a determination of significance. The board's decision has there's many reasons for the board's decision, and I'll take you through just the highlights. A, land. The project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to land or geological resources. B, ground and surface water quality and quantity. The town board finds that the project will not cause any significant adverse impacts to ground or surface water quality or quantity. C, land use and zoning. The project is consistent with the town of Glenville's comprehensive plan. Therefore, the board finds that the project does not create any significant adverse impacts to the community's current plans or goals. D, traffic or noise. The town board finds that the project will not result in any significant adverse traffic or noise impacts. E, erosion, flooding, leaching, drainage concerns. The town board finds that the project will not result in any significant adverse impacts due to those issues. F, cultural resources. The project will not impair the character, quality of existing historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources. G, community character. The project is consistent with the community plans and is in keeping with the existing character of the architecture in the area. H, utilities. The project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to existing water, sewer, electric, or other utility services in the project area. I, natural resources. The town board finds the project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to the natural resources. J, solid waste. The town finds that the project will not result in any significant adverse soil waste impacts. K, local services. The project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to local police, fire, or emergency services. L, other potential resources. The project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to agriculture, open space, or recreational resources. M, air quality. The town board finds the project will not cause any significant adverse change to existing air quality. N, cumulative impacts. The project is expected to not to create any material demand for other actions that will result in significant adverse impacts. O, involved agency comments. There were no comments received from other involved agencies except for the DEC, and we have the attachment here with their concern, and that is attached to this. So in conclusion, the town board, acting as the lead agency in the coordination review under the seeker, has thoroughly evaluated all aspects of the project and carefully reviewed all relevant materials, including comments from involved agencies, the GECC and PZC. For the reasons set forth above, the town board has determined that the project will not have any significant adverse impacts to the environment. As a result, a negative declaration has been filed and distributed pursuant to seeker regulations, and a draft environmental impact statement is not warranted nor needed to be prepared, although I think one was done anyway. So we have a lot of backup to all those, all the way to, I think, O or Z, I wrote to you. But that is what the resolution says. And any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Gottlieb?
Yes.
Councilwoman Worzbowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Hetzler?
Yes, the resolution passes. Last resolution is item 2, which is adopting the PDD for the residential development for Dutch Meadows. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. I do have to read this one. It's only 2 pages because it is an add-on and the text is not before the members currently. So this is for the record, and it should go fairly quick. Whereas the town of Glenville is proposing a zoning map amendment and a local law, a copy of which is attached, that will change the zoning of approximately 24 acres of vacant parcel located at Dutch Meadows Lane, presently owned by Ray Petrovsky and under contract for sale to Richville Capital from general business and professional residential to residential land development, and would approve the creation of the Dutch Meadows Lane Residential Plan Development District. And whereas the zoning map amendments for the land on the southerly side of Dutch Meadows Lane is to be rezoned residential plan development in order to allow creative development of the entire property as a Dutch Meadows Lane Residential Plan Development District, and to make the zoning compatible with the adjacent parcels to the north, recognizing that the nearby property has a similar type of use to that being proposed on the southerly side of the road. And whereas the portion of the property to be rezoned that fronts the Dutch Meadow Lane would appear to best conform to the town's comprehensive plan if utilized for townhomes and multifamily residential use. And whereas the portion of the property to be rezoned would appear to be best be developed as a multifamily housing, given the proximity to the Freeman's Bridge Road commercial corridor and the adjacent multifamily housing. And whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed the preliminary development plan and recommends consideration of the zoning map amendment and the residential plan development to the town board. And whereas the changes of the zoning and the creation of the residential plan development were essentially one action, as the town board would not do one without the other. And whereas the plan development districts of Chapter 270 zoning authorizes the town board to create a residential plan development district by local law, and the local law would amend said chapter to provide for the Dutch Meadows Lane Residential Plan Development District. And whereas the board has determined by separate resolution whether the zoning map amendment or plan development district creation would not result in any significant adverse environmental impact for the purposes of seeker, and whether to accept the recommendations of the planning board that issues, and whereas New York State town law and the code of the town of Glenville requires a public hearing before the town board before an amendment to a zoning map or local law creating a planned development district may be adopted. And whereas the town board of the town of Glenville held that public hearing on Wednesday, September 4th, 2019 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as a matter can be reached at the town of Glenville Municipal Center, at which time and place all persons interested in the proposed zoning map amendment involving the property at the southerly side of Dutch Meadows Lane changing in zoning of the same from general business and professional residential to residential plan development, and the local law creating a residential plan development district on such parcel of real property in the town of Glenville in accordance with the revised application dated June 6, 2019, and be it resolved that the proposed local law is hereby adopted, and be it still further resolved that the town clerk be hereby directed to file said local law with the Secretary of State. That is the resolution. I'm sorry you had to sit through that. So with that, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the vote.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Last item on the agenda is new business. I'll start on my left. Councilman Gaduski.
No business.
Councilwoman Wozzowski.
I have nothing except to thank everybody that stayed till the very end of the meeting. And I would also like to thank all of the speakers on behalf of the Legacy Project who've been following through Supervisor Ketzley your progress, supporting me whenever I can, and I remain committed to supporting you going forward.
Thank you. Councilman Aragosa.
Nothing.
I have nothing, so I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Moved and second.
I'll second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.